This is CBN Newswatch.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for CBN Newswatch for this Monday, November 23rd. I'm George Thomas. Today, President Trump's legal team running into problems as they try to raise legal challenges over voting irregularities in the presidential election, now distancing themselves from one of their key attorneys. A huge breakthrough for another peace deal in the Middle East, as Israeli reports say Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu flew to Saudi Arabia Sunday to meet with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. He was an Air Force chaplain who lost his job and over $1 million in pension and health benefits. And he says it all began when he preached a biblical message on sexuality. And Housing Secretary Ben Carson, who was recently desperately ill with COVID-19, will tell you why he now says God is still in charge. Those stories and much more today on CBN Newswatch. We begin with the legal team of President Trump fighting in court over voting issues during the presidential election, but facing the question, do they have evidence of election fraud or not? Their legal effort was rocked when they distanced themselves from high-powered attorney Sidney Powell. The reported reason? She couldn't provide evidence backing up her claims of rigged software stealing votes. Even so, one leading constitutional expert says the president still has a path to victory. Caitlin Burke has a story.
A high-ranking source close to the Trump legal team tells CBN News that attorney Sidney Powell no longer has a role because her claims went beyond evidence that the legal team had either seen or could prove in court.
Powell repeatedly has said that she has the evidence to overturn the presidential election results.
First of all, I never say anything I can't prove. And President Trump won by not just hundreds of thousands of votes, but by millions of votes that were shifted by this software that was designed expressly for that purpose. We have sworn witness testimony of why the software was designed. It was designed to rig elections.
But a senior administration official told the Washington Examiner, quote, Sidney has made these claims, but she has not shown, to my knowledge, evidence to support them, not to the campaign and not to the White House. In an email to the Wall Street Journal, Powell said, quote, I agree with the statement today. I will represent #WeThePeople and seek the truth. I intend to expose all the fraud and let the chips fall where they may. We will not allow the foundations of this great republic to be destroyed by abject fraud. The president's legal team suffering a legal setback Saturday when a federal judge ruled against their suit in Pennsylvania. They're appealing to circuit court. Constitutional scholar and attorney Alan Dershowitz says the president still has several constitutional paths to victory.
For example, in Pennsylvania, they have two very strong legal arguments. One, that the courts changed what the legislature did about counting ballots after the end of Election Day. That's a winning issue in the Supreme Court. I don't necessarily support it, but it's a winning issue in the Supreme Court. And Justice Alito has already hinted that's a winning issue. They also have a winning issue in the Supreme Court on equal protection, that some counties allowed flawed ballots to be cured while others didn't.
Meanwhile, Michigan is preparing a vote on whether to certify election results or delay the process to allow an audit. With at least one Republican member of the state's canvassing board expected to delay the certification, if the other Republican forces a tie, the issue could end up in court. Michigan's House Speaker told Fox News,
if there were to be a 2-2 split on the State Board of Canvassers, it would then go to the Michigan Supreme Court to determine what their response would be, what their order would be.
The Trump campaign also requesting another recount in Georgia.
The biggest challenge in contesting this election is time, and it's running out. The Electoral College is set to vote on December 14th, just 3 weeks away. Caitlin Burke, CBN News.
Thank you, Caitlin. A potentially huge development out of the Middle East as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Mossad chief Yossi Cohen flew to Saudi Arabia Sunday to meet with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. According to reports in the Israeli media, the visit would mark the first time senior Israeli and Saudi officials met. A tracking site showed a flight Sunday evening from Tel Aviv to Neom. That's Saudi Arabia's planned city of the future, where the Crown Prince was meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. Many expect Saudi Arabia to be one of the next countries to normalize relations with Israel as part of the peace deals between Israel and Arab nations, known as the Abraham Accords. So if Saudi Arabia is about to be the next country to strike a deal with Israel, what would that mean for the Jewish state and the world? Chris Mitchell recently looked into the possibilities.
The positive signal that Saudi Arabia could soon strike its own peace deal with Israel is this landmark interview carried on the Arab news channel Al Arabiya. Saudi Arabia's former ambassador to the U.S., Prince Bandar bin Sultan, condemning Palestinian reaction to the treaty known as the Abraham Accords.
I have heard shocking statements quoted from the Palestinian leadership. At first, I refused to believe what I heard. Then, a day or two later, I saw it with my own eyes on TV.
Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas accused the Gulf states of betraying his people, and chief negotiator Saeb Erekat called the treaty a poison stab in the back.
Their transgression against the Gulf states' leadership with this reprehensible discourse is entirely unacceptable.
Prince Bandar then listed the Palestinian betrayals of Saudi Arabia and Gulf states, specifically Yasser Arafat's support of Iraq's Saddam Hussein after he attacked Kuwait in the 1991 Gulf War.
The interview by Prince Bandar with Al Arabiya was a breakthrough. It was a ground-shaking interview because what you have is a former, very senior Saudi official, not current, but very well respected. And he blasted, in no uncertain terms, the current leadership of the Palestinian Authority, particularly Mahmoud Abbas.
UAE political analyst Dr. Najat Al-Saeed says it also shows Saudi Arabia's frustration with Palestinian leaders.
What I'm sure about, what has been applied for the past years will never be applied now, because basically it failed. And they show, and the reward of the Palestinian Authority was an attack and was siding with their enemies. Before was like people like Saddam Hussein, and now with Turkey and Iran, who are like a main threat to the Gulf region. They are siding with them against the Gulf.
Middle East expert Joel Rosenberg has led several evangelical delegations to the Gulf states, including Saudi Arabia.
I think that we are actually trending towards a dramatic development of normalization, full peace treaty between the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the State of Israel. I know that for many that seems premature and it seems even far-fetched. I think that is absolutely going to happen. I think it's a matter of time.
Al-Saeed says as leader of the Muslim world and home to Mecca, Saudi Arabia has unique circumstances.
It's not only a matter of a country and its people like UAE and Bahrain. It's more than that because of its weight in the region, whether from the Arab perspective and the Muslim perspective.
Saudi Arabia provided a key sign when it gave the green light for Israeli aircraft to fly through its airspace. Rosenberg sees the Abraham Accords as a turning point for a country where 70% of the population is under 35, with many looking for change.
I think the main issue here is not whether the royals in Riyadh want to make peace with Israel. The question is, how long will it take to continue to sort of warm up the culture to think it through? It's such a huge breakthrough, and I think it's creating a conversation that's going on inside the kingdom that is going to help lay the groundwork for what will be the biggest development. I mean, there's no peace treaty that's bigger than a Saudi-Israeli peace deal, but I think it's coming.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
And that would be dramatic news indeed. Back here in the U.S., another promising coronavirus vaccine candidate, as AstraZeneca said today that late-stage trials showed that its vaccine was up to 90% effective. That gives public health officials hope they may soon have a vaccine that is easier to distribute than some of its rivals. The results are based on interim analysis on trials in the United Kingdom and Brazil of a vaccine developed by Oxford University and manufactured by AstraZeneca. No hospitalizations or severe cases of COVID-19 were reported in those receiving the vaccine. AstraZeneca is the third major drug company to report positive late-stage results for its potential COVID-19 COVID-19 vaccine. Coming up, an Air Force chaplain who lost his job and more than $1 million in pension and health benefits. And he says it all goes back to a message he preached based on the Bible. We'll bring you that story when we come back.
Loose batteries clutter up your house? Is finding the right size impossible? And why do they always waste precious space? What you need is the Battery Daddy storage system, the new compact and portable way to organize, store, and protect all your batteries. Turn any disaster into an organized master. Battery Daddy uses both sides to store all types of different batteries, even coin size. The unique design groups them for easy selection. You could even find one with a blindfold on. Best of all, it packs 180 batteries, yet takes up about the space of a laptop. Perfect in any cabinet, drawer, or shelf. Forget flimsy bags or messy containers. Battery Daddy stays organized forever, guaranteed. And the carrying handle lets you bring it anywhere. Use it during power outages and never go searching in the dark. Select the right battery for kids' toys in an instant, or tackle household chores with the precision of a pro. Watch out, loose batteries can touch and drain power. Not with Battery Daddy. They stay fully charged and protected in their own compartment. Keep one in the house and one in the office, boat, or RV to organize, store, and protect all your batteries. Plus, the clear locking lid lets you see everything at a glance. Amazing! Act now to get your Battery Daddy for just $19.99. And here's an electrifying deal. We'll include the battery tester, so you'll instantly know which batteries are bad and which are good, saving you time and money. Yours absolutely free. End the battery blues with Battery Daddy for just $19.99. Call now.
To order, call 1-800-583-5251 or go online at batterydaddy.com. Don't delay, call 1-800-583-5251 or go online at batterydaddy.com. Order now.
Get the top political news and analysis from Washington on Faith Nation, tonight at 6 Eastern, only on the CBN News Channel.
Welcome back to CBN News. He was passed over twice for promotion and involuntarily discharged. That's what happened to an Air Force chaplain after almost 30 years of service. Not only did it cost him his job, he lost more than $1 million in pension and health benefits. And he says his difficulties began with a biblical message he preached. Eric Phillips has the story.
Former Air Force chaplain Kirk Cizik tells me his military career started going downhill after his sermon that included scriptures about sexual immorality. He says never before had he been punished for preaching. Now he's hoping Christians will stand with him.
Men put so much of who they are into what it is that they do, and having that rug pulled out underneath me was very difficult to go through.
Former Air Force chaplain Kurt Cizik is unapologetic about preaching the word. One Sunday in 2013 at Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, he says that stance led to trouble.
The message was about sin that we don't think is that bad. If you're having sex with somebody that you're not married to, then you need to stop. I said, sometimes the Christian church has gotten a reputation for being prejudiced. And because we look at one sin, homosexuality, and then we turn a blind eye and don't say anything about heterosexual sin. And that's hypocritical.
What happened next turned into a domino effect that ended with his involuntary discharge.
I found out shortly thereafter that a lesbian trainee had made a complaint about the sermon. She complained that I had said that all homosexuals were going to burn in hell. I don't know what sermon she listened to, but it wasn't what I preached that day.
2,500 trainees heard that day's sermon, and Cizik says as far as he knows, only one person complained.
We also had an openly lesbian commander working in basic training. And when she heard about the trainee's complaint, she wouldn't let it go. My performance reports were downgraded. My promotion recommendation was downgraded. I got passed over for promotion twice and involuntarily separated from the Air Force in 2016.
That means even with almost 30 years of service, nearly 20 of them active duty, he cannot retire from the Air Force. Cizik says while it's a net loss of more than $1 million in pension and health benefits, he sees a bigger issue.
Even if I did say what she said that I said, it's covered by my First Amendment rights to preach and teach according to my religious beliefs. I mean, either we believe that everybody has First Amendment rights or we don't.
All he wants to do is serve God and serve his country. That's all he wants to do.
Paul Platty is Cizik's attorney.
Air Force regulations specifically allowed him to give that type of sermon. The First Amendment protects his freedom of speech and freedom of religion. So quite frankly, we think it's preposterous what happened to him.
They say the Air Force never put in writing that the sermon caused the poor performance reports, but instead accused Cizik of violating unrelated protocols. He denies that, and after appealing to the highest levels of the Air Force, this is what he received.
Here at the top of the page, it says the reasons for the decision. And then they blank out everything explaining the reasons for his decision. But we know why, because he was disciplined 3 days after he gave the sermon about sexual immorality.
CBN News reached out to the Air Force for comment, and officials sent this statement, which says in part, the applicant, Kirk Cizik, alleges he has been the victim of reprisal. Based on the board's review, they do not conclude the applicant has been the victim of reprisal. The board maintains the applicant has failed to establish that. Cizik reached out to lawmakers and even the White House. The vice president's office referred Cizik's case to the Air Force Board for correction of military records for reconsideration. But officials there refused to reopen his case. Now the Department of Defense Inspector General's office is looking into it. Cizik hopes Christians who learn of this will sound off.
We need some encouragement from fellow believers.
This is a time for conservative Christians to be heard. Letting their legislators, letting the White House, letting the Air Force, letting the Secretary of Defense know how they feel. The real intolerance is not speaking the truth. The real intolerance is preventing people from speaking the truth. That's the real intolerance and bigotry that exists in our country today.
Now that it appears change is coming to the White House, Cizik isn't sure a Biden administration would be as sympathetic to his cause. That's why he says time is of essence for Christians to speak out. In Washington, Eric Phillips, CBN News.
Thank you, Eric. Chaplain Cizik is hoping Christians around the country will support him in his appeal to the Air Force to reopen his case. By the way, if you want to help, go to our website, cbnnews.com, for more information. Still ahead, the world is always facing the possibility of a devastating natural disaster like an earthquake or a volcano, possibly even an asteroid. So what is being done to warn us that one of these dangers could actually happen? We'll have the answer right after this.
Stay tuned to get 2 rolls of Alien Tape free. You heard that right, free. Finally, there's Alien Tape, a revolutionary new tape that doesn't use adhesive, but strong enough to hold an incredible 17.5 pounds on most surfaces. You'll love Alien Tape, the incredible new advanced grip technology tape that instantly locks anything into place without screws or anchors. There's more. Alien Tape is reusable. Remove it, rinse it, and reuse it. Use it again and it's just as strong. Use Alien Tape to hold stuff in place. It locks right down instantly. Keep things secure until you're done. Just give it a twist and it comes right off. Alien Tape comes right off because it doesn't use adhesive. But on drywall, it's a permanent alternative to nails. No need to drill into cabinets. Alien Tape will stay in place until you decide to take it off. Alien tape is perfect for glass. Use it for heavy towels and it stays in place. When you're done, remove it and there's no residue. Alien tape defies gravity, even when it's wet. You'll love it. Alien tape grips to most surfaces instantly. Hang heavy pictures on stone in a flash. Use Alien tape outdoors. No screws or permanent holes. Alien tape is the reusable double-sided tape you'll use everywhere. Alien tape stops furniture from sliding and won't damage floors. You'll love it. Alien tape keeps carpets in place. Use Alien tape in the car for backseat entertainment. Or easily secure your cell phone while driving. Call or go online to get your roll of the incredible Alien tape for the low price of just $19.99 plus shipping and processing. But wait, order today and you can get 2 additional rolls of Alien tape. Absolutely free. That's right, for a limited time, you can get 3 rolls of Alien tape for one low price. That's an amazing amount of Alien tape. Don't delay. Get yours today. Here's how to order.
Call 1-800-457-9162 or go to tryalientape.com. So call 1-800-457-9162. That's 1-800-457-9162 or order online at tryalientape.com.
Welcome back to the broadcast. With the threats of earthquakes, volcanoes, asteroids, even solar storms, our world is at risk from a number of natural hazards. Who are the watchmen on the lookout for these global threats, and what exactly do they do? Gabe LaMonica has the answers.
Existential scenarios like an asteroid hitting Earth face pretty long odds.
The likelihood of that happening are literally astronomical.
But just in case, the Earth has a watchman on the lookout for exactly the kind of threat that wiped out the dinosaurs.
So we now have the technology to detect these things far in advance.
Lindley Johnson is NASA's planetary defense officer.
We believe we have already found all of the near-Earth asteroids that are of that size that could cause the same kind of catastrophe that occurred to the dinosaurs. But there are still a few large ones to find out there.
Johnson and other planetary defenders have a plan to redirect an asteroid potentially heading for Earth. And next summer, NASA will test that capability for the first time by crashing a probe into an asteroid's moon, knocking it off orbit and off course.
We've been given the tools to prevent this ever happening to us again, and so we should use them.
The watchers call scenarios like these high-impact, low-probability events.
Up from the crater of 4,000-foot-high Mount Vesuvius rise towering clouds of smoke and volcanic ash.
The 1944 eruption of Mount Vesuvius rained down on the Naples area some 2,000 years after it destroyed Pompeii.
This sort of gets into social science.
Geophysicist Michael Poland is with the U.S. Geological Survey.
How do you coordinate an evacuation of a city of millions? There are environments like that all over the world, not just Naples, but environments like that in Indonesia and the Philippines. You know, there was an eruption of Taal volcano in the Philippines, which is only a few tens of kilometers south of Manila, where there's millions of people that live. And if there had been a very large eruption of that volcano, fortunately the eruption was small and no one died, but if there had been a large eruption, how do you coordinate a really mass evacuation?
There's no stopping a volcano.
No, well, occasionally we get this question, like, why don't you just drill into the volcano and pump water down there? And the scale of the problem is really incomprehensibly big. So no, you can't stop a volcano from erupting. You might be able to divert some of the products, but the best mitigation methods we have today are to get out of the way.
The eruption of Mount St. Helens.
In just minutes, the 1980 eruption of Mount St. Helens resulted in 57 lives lost and hundreds of millions of dollars in damage. After destroying every living thing within 230 square miles, the devastation forced the world to take volcano monitoring a little more seriously.
The science of eruption forecasting certainly has advanced quite a lot. We can recognize eruptions that are becoming restless based on patterns in earthquakes, ground deformation, gas emissions.
Poland also oversees the Yellowstone Volcano Observatory.
In Yellowstone, the worst case scenario is always a tremendous explosion of the kind that last happened about 631,000 years ago. That was one of these super eruptions that occur on average maybe every 50 to 100,000 years somewhere on the planet.
Scientists think that worst case scenario is also the least likely to happen. But if it did...
It's not going to cause our extinction. That's not to say that it wouldn't be pretty devastating.
Sure.
These sorts of eruptions would be immediately devastating to everything around them, out to a radius of hundreds to thousands of kilometers.
While hundreds of active volcanoes exist around the world, another threat hangs right above our heads. Luckily, this July 23, 2012 eruption on the sun that sent giant particle clouds hurtling through space at 6.7 million miles an hour missed the Earth. In 1859, one of these eruptions hit Earth. Now known as the Carrington event, it's the largest geomagnetic storm on record. Today, a Carrington-like event would be similar to an electromagnetic pulse, or EMP. In that case, the plan is a temporary shutoff to save the grid. We might not be able to predict or prevent every catastrophe or global disaster, but having early warning systems in place is always a good idea. Gabe LaMonica, CBN News.
Thank you, Gabe. We'll be back right after this.
Everybody has a flashlight, but can your flashlight fit in your pocket, light up the night super bright, and even save your life in an emergency? This one can. Nick Bolton here to tell you about the newest tack light innovation, the Bell & Howell Tack Pen. That's right, we made a tack light the size of a pen, yet without sacrificing any features. Visible up to 2 nautical miles away, has a disorienting defensive strobe, zooms in to focus its beam wherever you want, and won't quit even in the most bitter cold or extreme heat. And yes, it survived getting run over by my Humvee. Try that with a regular flashlight. That's not all. Because it's so slim, it's easy to take with you. And it has a few new features you'll love, like an emergency escape tool that can shatter glass. Now that's what I call military tough. It even has a built-in multi-tool for quick fixes. And oh yeah, it's actually a working pen. So let's review. The Bell & Howell Tack Pen has all the great features of our tack light. The same durability you come to expect. Clips to your pockets so you can take it anywhere, can help you make quick repairs or break a window in an emergency. It even functions like a regular pen. I mean, there's just nothing like it on the market today.
Act now to get your Bell & Howell Tack Pen for just $19.99, and we'll even ship it to you free. Tack Pen is the only working pen and super bright tack light featuring zoom and defensive strobe functions and including an escape tool and multi-tool with screwdriver and bottle opener. Plus, like all of our tactical products, it features genuine Bell & Howell craftsmanship backed by our 10-year warranty. But wait, while supplies last, you can get a second one. Just pay a separate fee. So don't delay. Get yours today.
To order, call 1-800-836-4073 or go to buytackpen.com. That's 1-800-836-4073, or you can order online at buytackpen.com.
Dr. Ben Carson, Secretary of the Development of Housing and Urban Development, says he became desperately ill with COVID-19 but hasn't given up because, quote, God is still in charge, he wrote on Facebook Friday. President Trump, the fabulous White House medical team, and the phenomenal doctors at Walter Reed have been paying very close attention to my health, and I do believe I am out of the woods at this point. Well, you can read more about Carson's experience on the CBNnews.com. See you, everyone.